I'm going to look at disasters. Now, what is a disaster and how well prepared are we for disasters? We all know of NADMO, the National Disaster Management Organization. We also know that in order to manage, we have to measure. And I wonder how a disaster differs, in measurement from any other calamity of a human or non-human origin. To help me better understand this, I've got Mr. Asomani Odey-Mensah. He is the Chief Disaster Control Officer, CDOC, for Relief and Reconstruction. And the reason why we're holding this discussion is because today, the 1st of March, is World Civil Defense Day. And the defense is against disasters. Good morning. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. Good morning.
World Civil Defense Day.
That's right.
That sounds almost revolutionary to me.
Yeah, really. That's what some other countries like the Arab world, they prefer using protection. So
protection.
Civil protection.
Civil protection.
They use civil protection
Civil
instead
protection.
of civil defense. Like we're saying, it's like a militarized something.
Yes, it sounds,
And that one can be prevented. So we prevent the preventable ones, and then we mitigate against the effect of the unpreventable ones. That is the natural one. The natural ones, whether we like it or not, it will come. But the magnitude of the impact on the people and the environment depend upon the vulnerability of the people themselves.
You're the Deputy Chief Disaster Control Officer. You're not the Disaster Management Officer. You are the Chief Disaster Control Officer. How do you control disasters? What resources do you have within the capacity of your organization to control disasters? Let's just look at man-made ones.
Yeah. Okay. So if we talk about disasters, and then it's management. Yeah, the control is that we use the definition for NADMO. The mandate is that NADMO is mandated to mobilize resources, both governmental and non-governmental, to manage disasters. So we coordinate the resources. So all resources in the MDAs, the security agencies on the side, both human and material resources to control disasters, and that is the NADMO's mandate and the responsibility. So we use our partners, or what we call our collaborating agencies, to assist us in the management of disasters. So we let them play their usual traditional roles, but we coordinate. We see to it that we bring the fire service on board, we bring the police, we bring the military, and then the NGOs and then other civil society, on board to be able to. As in a disaster scene, there will be a chaos. If you had been to the Melcombe incident, NADMO was on the ground with all the collaborating agencies, and we were able to coordinate very, very well. Then we were able to come out with something.
So in times of a disaster, whether natural or man-made, NADMO coordinates the activities and the participation of all the other stakeholder organizations, both the public and the private ones, all the CSOs, NGOs, the police, fire service, what have you, AMA. They all fall under the coordination and control of NADMO. And all that needs to happen for NADMO's attention and action to be actually triggered is for a disaster to be of such a scale, an event to be of such a scale that it is clear that the people living in that area are not able
to manage the
situation by themselves. So things such as floods that we see on the screen, such as collapse of a building, like the Melcombe building collapse, or for example bushfires. These things are spread all over the country though. Do you really have the capacity to respond to calls from people who say, well, my farm is on fire, my building has collapsed, there's a flood, and my home has collapsed? Do you have the capacity to respond?
Yeah, the capacity, I would say yes and no. Yes and no in the sense that if we want to respond to the disaster, you need human resources, you need financial resources, you need material resources, or what we call the logistics, to be able to manage the situation very well. For the human resources, then I can stick my head and say, yes, we have the people. Like I have mentioned to you, all the collaborating agencies are there that we can use their expertise to be able to manage the disasters. our handicap comes in when it comes to logistics, vehicles to move, finances to purchase relief items when to the extreme. I'm just relegating the relief, provision of relief to the background for the moment. So we come to the actual management of it. That is a prevention, mitigation aspect of it. So the relief comes in at the third point of this, and that we call the post-disaster. The post-disaster and then other things.
I'm sure you've had this question before, and Hakeem Ibrahim Asamoah has posted it again on our page on Facebook. It says, please tell us why we had to bring people in from another country when the Melcom building collapsed, if we have people under your office that can handle such situations.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. We see, in Akan, we have a problem in Akan, that one person's hand cannot cover the eyes of the God. One person's hands cannot cover the eyes of God. It means that we need all people. And actually, disaster management is multi-sectorial, multidisciplinary. So we need assistance from other places. So no matter where the resources is that we needed, the Melcom situation, for instance, we needed a technology, the new technology that can pass through the robots to let us capture what is in there. And then it is the Israelis, Red Cross, that brought that technology. But when they came, our officers or our partners were also doing the work. The rescue team was there. The rescue team was being led by the fire service, with the police, with the military. The 48 engineers were there, with the others, and the NADMO rapid response team was there to assist. So everybody was assisting. So for disaster management, this is not the first time. In other places, well, even in America, when they get disasters, there are other disaster groups from Japan and then the Europe to come and assist them. It's all over. So it wasn't anything new. That does not mean that we don't have. So that's why we were lacking of some of the resources, that the technology, the new technology that I'm talking about. And the Israelis had it. So when they also heard about our situation, they called.
In Africa, we've had our fair share of wars, disasters, famines, floods, fires, what have you. But we don't have an African disaster relief organization. How come?
Yeah, not we have. Now the AU has established this in a department that is taking care of disaster management. And then ECOWAS has also established. And I'm glad that I participated the recent one in 2009 at Benin. That's the ECOWAS. They were coming up with their acts and then the modalities for disaster management for the ECOWAS countries. And they are actually mandated, not mandated as such, detailed NADMO to assist the other countries that are now coming up to be able to establish disaster management in their countries. Actually, this one magnated from the UN system. There's United Nations will be working.
Rescuers,
yes,
and providers of relief in times of disaster, especially major unmitigated disaster, as what we can see on the screen now. That's a flood. Mm-hmm. Now this can cause loss of property, well, probably does, can also cause loss of life. So anyone that comes to the rescue is seen as a hero. And anyone that braves a flood, a collapsed building, a fire, or any other disaster of a large enough scale is really risking their life and their limb. I want to ask what sort of cost we have paid, price we have paid in terms of losses to NADMO and to volunteers over the years, and if we remember, commemorate and reward such acts of selfless heroism.
Yeah,
do we have heroes?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely we will call it heroes. But we see ourselves as the humanitarian workers, and that is our responsibility. When you have devoted yourself to be a humanitarian worker, then it means that you are putting yourself ahead of your friend to assist the person. So, for instance, the ICDO celebration, that one of the purpose is to celebrate or commemorate the other people, health workers, the disaster workers that might have lost their lives through rescuing other people.
Can we have that happen in Ghana?
Ghana, not yet. The just one that we heard was the situation that happened to our Navy officer, the 2 Navy officers. Actually, it wasn't in a disaster risk, the water and this, so it was like a preliminary.
So we could call it disaster prevention.
That's right. That's a preliminary action to look at these situations and see how they can prevent this thing. And unfortunately, they lost their life. So these are some of the situations. And usually, disaster rescuers have also been victims to disasters in the past. And in the present, it's happening. And in the future, it may happen. But at least we try to do our best to protect ourselves so that we can protect others.
So do you rely by and large on volunteers participation, or do you have permanent paid staff, offices and technicians and so on and so forth?
Yeah, NADMO has offices in all the districts and then all the regions. And then we have offices in the zones. The zones are those in the communities. And we have about 9,000 zonal offices. You know, they live with actually disasters happen in the communities and not in other places. So they live in the communities, and then they can now send a message to the district, and district forward to the regions to the national, and then we see how we can all manage the situation.
Yeah, how can we all manage the situation? That's my final question to you. How can we, myself, anybody who is watching, help to manage or prevent situations that we would normally think are the responsibility of NADMO? So when it happens, call NADMO.
Yeah, that is a misconception of people, because disaster management is everybody's business. It's like the military. We have the military. When it comes to water, they have to fight for us. But assuming that the Togo army attacked us, and some of the military people has come into your house, is it not that you are going to call for our military to come and fight them? No, you have to fight yourself first. So that is what we've been inculcating into the people by public education and the sensitization, that they are the first responders of these things, and they should. The prevention and the mitigation of the disease, the Ghana government can come in with the mitigation, which entails reconstruction, rehabilitation, and then others. That is a capital intensive. But for the prevention aspect of it, all of us can do the little thing in our own little way to be able to prevent these situations from the hazards to aggravate into disasters. So disaster management is everybody's business.
Thank you very much, and that's the final word from Mr. Someningode Mensah. He is the Chief Disaster Control Officer with a special responsibility for relief and reconstruction. Today is the 1st of March. It marks the World Civil Defense Day, created by the ICDO, the International Civil Defense Organization, in 1990 Ghana, but we've been a member of the ICDO since August 1974.